Section 24 of the Labor Act 11 of 2007. This section deals with sick leave. In terms of this section, during any sick leave cycle, an employee is entitled to sick leave as follows. Number 1, not less than 30 working days if the employee ordinarily works 5 days during a week. Number 2, not less than 36 working days if the employee ordinarily works 6 days during the week. And number 3, not less than the number of working days calculated on a pro rata basis if the employee ordinarily works fewer than 5 days during a week. But an employee is entitled to 1 day's sick leave for every 26 days worked during the employee's first year of employment. For the purposes of the section discussed below above, the sick leave days to which an employee who does not ordinarily work a fixed number of days per week is entitled must be calculated annually on the basis of the average number of days worked per week over the previous 12 months. Further, on the employee's normal payday, the employer must pay that employee an amount equal to that employee's daily remuneration for each day of absence on sick leave. So meaning that when a person is absent on sick leave, they are still entitled to their normal pay. They still get paid for that day as if they had come to work. Now, although subsection 3 provides that the employee needs to be paid for absence on leave, an employer is not required to pay an employee for sick leave in any of the following circumstances. So meaning despite what subsection 3 says that an employee needs to be paid, in certain circumstances, the employer is not supposed to pay the employee on sick leave if the employee has been absent from work for more than 2 consecutive days and fails to produce a medical certificate by a medical practitioner or any other evidence of proof of illness as may be prescribed. Meaning, you can be on sick leave 1 day, 2 days in terms of the Labor Act, but if you are absent for more than 2 days on sick leave, then you need to provide proof of illness or a medical practitioner's certificate or a medical certificate to prove that you were sick. Now, an employer must also not pay an employee on sick leave to the extent that the employee is entitled to payment in terms of the Employees' Compensation Act of 1941. Meaning, if the employee is absent from work during any period of incapacity arising from an accident or a scheduled disease. This is just to say that if you are entitled to other payments in terms of the Compensation Act of 1941 while on that sick leave, maybe due to an accident, then the employer is not supposed to pay you or does not have the obligation to pay the employee. Another circumstance in which the employer is not obliged to pay an employee on sick leave, to the extent that the employee is entitled to payment in respect of that sick leave from a fund or organization designated by the employee and in respect of which the employer makes contribution at least equal to that made by the employee. So during that sick leave, if you are entitled to payment from a certain fund where the employer makes contribution to that fund, then you are not entitled to getting paid for your sick leave days in terms of this act. And to the extent that the employee is entitled to payment in respect of that sick leave from a fund or organization that guarantees the payment of sick leave. So, or any other organization that guarantees the payment of sick leave. Another circumstance that the employer is not obliged to pay an employee on sick leave to the extent that the employee is entitled to payment in respect of the leave under any other legislation. This can include your Social Securities Act. So if you are receiving payment in terms of any other legislation for your sick leave incapacity, then the employer is not obliged to pay you. Now, sick leave does not form part of annual, compassionate, or maternity leave. They are totally different types of leave. Sick leave does not entitle the employee to any additional remuneration on termination of the employment. So just because you're on sick leave doesn't mean that you are now entitled to additional remuneration. So sick leave, if not used during the period referred to in subsection 1, lapses at the end of that period. In other words, sick leave expires if not used during that sick leave cycle. Thank you.